Hi everyone, this is Maya Zahira with Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and we are now live in our free Facebook group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group. And today we're doing something a little bit different and a little bit special. We're going to have a Q&A, and this is different because usually I will have a topic already chosen that I'll speak on, but today, actually yesterday I posted a question in our group and I said, hey, if anyone has any questions, I will go ahead and answer. And the questions have to be general. They can't be personal questions of yours. Right? So it has to be a general question, and I'm going to start with the questions that were posted ahead of time. I may or may not have an opportunity to answer questions that are posted here in the live. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but we will see how it goes. So if you are interested in a Q&A where you can ask anything and ask about your situation specifically, ask personal questions like, what's going on? Maya, can you psychically read the situation and tell me what's going on? That is what I offer in my paid program. We actually do have a monthly Q&A on Zoom, and they can ask me anything, and there's no limitations. And the paid program is called Spiritual Empowerment Academy. And you can find information about that on my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. So let's jump into our Q&A, to our general Q&A here in the free group. You know, even though we're doing general questions, everybody learns so much. And you may recognize questions that you didn't realize that you had. So let's jump in. And I have to itch my face. Sorry, I can't wait any longer. Can't hold it off. Okay. So our first question is from Laura. And actually, I loved every question that was submitted. These were amazing questions and a big variety of questions. So it's awesome. Hi, Laura. Laura and Sharon are here live, and a few other people. Let me just check. There we go. Barbara. And I was going to ask you, is Litia Howland, do I say your name Leisha or Latia? I'm sure people ask you all the time, because I am going to go over your question today, and I want to read your name properly. People get confused about my name as well. But hello there in Virginia, and Lori in Glendale, Arizona. Very cool. I am in Arizona as well, and it's already hot here. And so that's why you hear all the white noise. I apologize in advance. We've got fans on, and Jackie is saying hi from Iowa. Cool. Okay, Laura starts with a really potent question. If a person has been targeted since birth, perhaps before birth even, and they're walking around like a beacon target that draws the orcs and harmers like a magnet, where does one even begin to protect themselves from relentless and ongoing harm? Kind of like playing whack-a-mole. And you're right, it is. And on the same note, does one need to keep taking protective action over and over and constantly be in a state of paranoia and what I call hypervigilance, right? Or can they one and done it, or two and done it? And does one need to know who is doing the attacking in order to protect themselves from it? Great question. Barbara is here. Oh, Naomi is here with Barbara in Ohio. That's great. Okay, So I also took some notes when I read your question earlier. Okay. I'm going to answer your final question first, and then I'm going to go back. Does someone need to know, do you need to know who it is that's doing the attacking in order to protect yourself from it? Yes and no. There are a lot of protection methods that you can use that can protect you, just provide overall protection. And it's interesting because when I started using reversal candles, which is a protection technique, several years ago, I was only going to program the candle to reverse the psychic attack coming from the person that I felt was targeting me. And instead, I decided to keep it more open. And it was fascinating because what ended up happening was all sorts of psychic attack ended up getting pulled off of me. Like, there were a lot of different people sending jealousy, competitiveness, anger, etc. And so since I didn't force it to be specific about just that one person, it actually had a more complete effect I did include the main person, but then I also included other people, and I also left it open-ended. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're doing any kind of spiritual protection work, you can certainly include who you suspect, but also keep it open to clear out anything else from anyone else as well. But with that said, I do think it's a really good idea to have some clarity on what and who you're trying to clear. I did a video, I think it was last month, where I talked about how it's important to know, for example, what kind of entity you're clearing before you try to just throw spaghetti at the wall and try random methods for clearing, because different entities are going to respond to different types of clearings. So it doesn't sound like you're asking about entities, but just generally speaking, it is a good idea to have some clarity on who you're dealing with. And there are ways to figure that out. That's actually something that I do with the students in the paid program, is we get to the bottom of what's going on. But if you have fairly good intuitive skills and your gut feeling is telling you where it's coming from, then I would say trust that. Trust your gut. Okay? So it's kind of both, like yes and no. Do you have to know who is doing the attacking in order to clear it or protect yourself? You don't have to know, but it is better. But also keep it open-ended, because there might be more than what you think is attacking. There might be more involved than you realize. Okay, so hopefully that all made sense. So back to the first part of your question. I chuckled ruefully when I read your question about if a person has been targeted since birth and perhaps even before birth. That would describe me and several of the students in my program, and I'm sure several of you watching this. So it really sucks, doesn't it? It really sucks having a lifetime of targeting. And I think your question is like, what do you do? What do you do about that? Because you're constantly playing a game of whack-a-mole. It feels like you can never get totally clear. So you actually can get clear, but let me think of what direction I want to go with this first. Okay. So you ask if you can do a one and done. Can you one and done it? Can you use a targeted method and then you're done? Usually no. And whether you've been targeted since birth or before birth or not, even if it's something that's just been going on for the last few years, very seldom do we have a quickie approach that 100% fully, completely, and permanently clears the issue. So if you haven't already, I would encourage you to read this book. And you guys, I'm always telling you guys about these two books. Just FYI, if you've ever self-published a book, the author doesn't make, it's like almost nothing. It's negligible, okay? So like, I wrote these books so that we could have a very organized way and a simple way that's like in a small package here. Just like you could read this in a day, in an afternoon, and get all of the potent information that you need. So I'm definitely not trying to sell you anything. Like, I don't earn hardly anything off of the books. If you have self-published, you know what I'm saying is true, right? But this is a great way to get the information that you need in a shorter format instead of watching the 200 hours of videos that I have on my YouTube channel, which you could also do if you want to. Okay, so this is the book that I recommend for you, Laura, the Psychic Attack Sourcebook. You can get it on Amazon. Anybody who's dealing with really any psychic attack. But this, it explains all these different things, like ancestral issues might be an issue for you. Also, the final chapter, chapter 9, really clearly explains the whole thing about how in our society today, we hope that we can use one targeted method and just get rid of it forever. And honestly, I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and I've never seen that work. But what I have seen work many, many times, multiple times, is a multifaceted approach, long-term. So steady, long-term. And I break that down and fully explain that in the final chapter of the book and why that works and what all of the steps are. So definitely read the book. That will help you understand. And also keep in mind, from my perspective, working with a lot of people where like all of their stories are private, all these different client sessions, but I can say that there's one pattern that I've seen over and over and over again, and it's that they've gone to different healers or shamans or teachers who have promised them that this like targeted one-time approach would fix the issue, and it never did. And they would go to like 3, 5, 10 different kinds of healers that would tell them this, and they would try with this person and this person and this person, and that one time, or like the one and done approach that you mentioned, the issue would come back. So they would try someone else, and then the issue would come back, and then they would finally come to me and they would say, Maya, I have literally spent thousands of dollars on people who promised that a one-time quickie thing would work. And then I was able to, and then I worked with them for months. So I would work with this person for months, with each of these people for months, and we would get it totally cleared. Okay. So from my perspective, I've just seen how so many people have tried that approach and that it hasn't worked, which is why it's one of the reasons why I'm really, I don't let people join my program temporarily, the paid academy. They have to do 12 months because everybody's different, but for most issues, it's going to take like some months to do it. Okay. I get on my soapbox about stuff, but some of you love that. So that's great. You're in the right place. Okay. So yes, read the book. And for you, Laura, you're going to establish a daily spiritual protocol. That's going to be part of the overall approach for you. Okay. daily protocol. And then you're also going to need to work on root causes. And there's not enough time to explain all of the nuances of all of that, but I promise you will get every piece of what you need in the book, and you'll have all your tools in your tool belt. And if you need more, then you know where to come. The thing about working on the root causes, like the past life issues and the pre-birth issues and the ancestral issues, all of that does get a little more complicated. It's not as straightforward as the straightforward clearing techniques that I describe in here. When we get into the root causes, I'm going to be writing books for a long time. I have a lot of books to write, but it's going to take a few years to get to these ones. The one, like, I need to write a whole book about clearing ancestral issues and clearing past life issues and clearing soul hijacking and all these different things. So it does get more complicated, and you might need someone's help when you're working on that part of it. But you have some homework to do with reading the book and really getting your daily protocols and your daily foundation set. And once you've done that, then you're ready to work even more on root causes, because I feel like you've already been working with those root causes. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of direction there. It's a fantastic question. All right. So, and I apologize. I just feel like I'm going to say your name wrong. People mispronounce my name all the time, so I feel for you. It's, your name is Litia. I don't know if it's Lisha or Latia. Either way, it's a beautiful name. So this is for you, Ms. Howland. Okay. First question. When using frankincense in your home, do you have to leave the smoke in the house, or can you air it out? So this is my personal preference. There are all sorts of spiritual people out there who are very dogmatic and who will screech and scream like, no, that's the wrong way. And I just laugh. I just laugh because everybody has all these different opinions. I'll tell you what I prefer. And then I think what I would say, though, for everybody is to follow what feels right for you. So what I like to do is let the smoke permeate the space. Let the frankincense smoke permeate the space. So in other words, I don't have the doors and windows open and the fans blowing everything out while I am burning the frankincense or other smoke cleansing. I don't have it all open. Okay, so I keep everything closed and I fill everything with smoke. And then when I'm done, then I want to air out the house because it's like a little too much smoke for comfort, right? So then we're airing it out. We're bringing in some fresh air. I've heard people say really hilarious things like, if your doors and windows are closed when you're doing a smoke cleanse, then you're just trapping the entities. I'm sorry, that makes me laugh so hard because clearly they've never seen ghosts or other entities exit through walls and ceilings. And I mean, I've been seeing entities, I think the first time like I really clearly saw something exit like through walls and through a ceiling was in my 20s. I saw ghosts before that, but so it's been, a good 30 years of seeing ghosts easily move through walls and ceilings and other structures. They don't need you to open the door for them. The entities will leave. It's a matter of like, what strength do you want the smoke cleanse to be? The more smoke, the stronger. Okay. But keeping everything in balance. For some people, a lot of smoke might bother them. It might give them a headache. But we don't want to go to the other extreme. I was talking to someone several years ago who was saying, oh, they just like to burn just the tiniest bit because it just smells nice and they like the fragrance in their home. And I said, well, that's great. It's wonderful that you like the fragrance, but that's really not going to be enough to clear demons out of your house or some other nasties. You really need to get some smoke going. Okay? All right, let me check, because as usual, my device doesn't always see. Here we go. I didn't see all these comments. Okay, I got to put my glasses on. My funny glasses. I know, they're so magnified. These are reading glasses, so they are super magnified. Leisha. Okay, great. Leisha, great. Okay, awesome. All right. What else do we have? Leisha has, and I'm trying to put that into my brain so I don't have to ask you every time. So it's like, Leisha. Okay, gotta keep this in my brain. I do see a question, and before it goes off my screen, I want to, how often should frankincense be burned for maintenance? Okay, great. That's from Jana. For maintenance. Actually, I'm going to backtrack just for clarity's sake. If anyone is dealing with entity interference or negative spiritual activity, then we would not call that maintenance. We would say that's emergency care. And for emergency clearing, I would burn frankincense every day. Or if that's a bit too much for your system and it's like, oh God, I can't do it every day, then a minimum of every 3 days. And what I've observed with, I've just observed this so many times that most entities don't like to be around frankincense and they will leave the premises. And I've tested it. I've noticed that they will often be gone for about 3 days, and then the effects of the frankincense have started to wear off, and then the entity or entities start to come back after about 3 days. So if you are under mega attack and you don't have sensitivities to fragrances and stuff, and you can handle burning frankincense every day, especially choosing whatever your problem time of day is. Like if you get attacked a lot at night, burn it every night and just fill your bedroom. And then obviously you might not feel comfortable sleeping with all the smoke, so burn it in your bedroom and then air it out a bit so you feel comfortable. And so it helps add added protection at night. Now, Jana's question is, what do we do for maintenance though? Let's say we don't have an issue, or we've already cleared out a past issue and everything's better, or we just never have had a bad issue and we're just keeping everything clean and clear so there aren't any issues that ramp up in the future. I'm going to give kind of a general scope here because everyone's different. I would say to burn frankincense anywhere between once a week to once a month. And I want you to just feel into your gut as to what's right for you. Some people just need more cleansing. Let's say you're really sensitive. Let's say you're an empath, or there's just like maybe a lot of chaos that's been happening in your home, even if it's not entity activity. For whatever reason, you might need to do a little more cleansing, so that would be once a week. Like when you do your household cleaning, if you do clean your house, like add some frankincense into your routine. And then, but if everything is pretty clean and clear, and you're not really having too many issues, and you're feeling pretty good and strong, I would say once a month is a great routine to just, it's a great preventative. Like if anything small, has tried to get into your living environment, then that once a month is going to clear that out so it never builds. Okay? So anywhere between once a week to once a month. And Christina says, what does the frankincense properties have that make them dislike it so much? That's a great question. And I am a very honest and transparent person. So I will tell you, I'm never going to just make up an answer. Okay. I'm going to tell you what I know and what I don't know. So I don't know that there's this like scientific reason why entities don't like frankincense. But I do believe that eventually science is going to catch up with spiritual matters, and we're going to find out all sorts of things that seem like magical or otherworldly that don't really make sense to us, that science is going to have a reason for, if like probably when we're all dead and gone. In the future generations, scientists are going to have answers to this. Okay. But from my general perspective, as someone who loves nature and loves plants, I think that certain plants have particular spiritual properties. Many plants have healing properties that are literally healing for the physical body, and that's why we have herbs for sale, and medicines, pharmaceutical medicines that are created from plant origins. That's one aspect of plant medicines is like the actual physical healing effects, but they also have other effects on our environment. And there's a long history throughout the history of humanity of just from a variety of cultures of using resins. So frankincense resin, which is dried tree sap. So there's a long history of using different tree sap resins, as well as dried herbs and other plant materials, burning those and using those for a smoke cleanse. And a few minutes ago, I was referring to smoke cleansing, etc., about like whether you should air out your house. Smoke cleansing is a general term that we can use, whether we're referring to using frankincense or myrrh or copal or dragon's blood. All of those are little pebbles that are dried tree sap, that are resins. Or we might be talking about Palo Santo, which is a wood. We might be talking about sage, dried lavender, dried cedar, juniper. The list goes on from a variety of different cultural traditions. And so through trial and error, I have found, and a lot of people have found, that certain herbs and certain plant substances will work well for clearing out certain things, and other plant substances will work really well for clearing out other things. So part of it is trial and error. So for me, and with all of the students that I've worked with over the years, most of us, through our own trial and error, have found that frankincense is a really good go-to because it clears out the real nasties. Okay? And then some of the dried herbs they have a tendency to be a lighter cleansing and consecration kind of energy. But that said, I've also noticed that when we take into account someone's ancestry, especially if they are very actively involved in their particular ancestry, if they are using materials for clearing that have been traditionally used with their personal ancestry, those tools are going to be very powerful for that person. Does that make sense? So this is why, even though I talk about how frankincense is great for clearing out demons, etc., and some of the dried herbs just are not as effective for that. Well, it depends on the person, because I've met people who were able to use certain dried herbs and just clear out all sorts of stuff. But it wasn't just the herbs just in and of themselves. It was like the combination of the person's personal power and belief and connection with that plant spirit. Okay, so sometimes when I get questions from you all, I'm going to kind of talk in a circle. I'm going to just share everything in my brain that comes up around your question, and you can like take whatever fits for you. Okay? All right. Oops. Leisha is saying, is it safe to assume that coin-sized shadow-looking orbs are negative? Even though I'm not doing personal readings today in the free group, I will say, Leisha, in your case, yes, you should assume that those are negative. I clarify that this is in your case because I thought of a situation that I had many years ago where I did see some very small orbs that at first showed up as shadows, but then then as they got closer, I saw that they were fairies. So that was pretty cool. So in your case, yes, negative. So clear those out. Is it 100% of the time anything that looks shadowy is bad, or that you need that is negative or bad? Not 100% of the time. So each person who has a situation like that, you'll have to tap into your gut feeling and see what's what. Okay, let's see. Christina. Okay. I usually don't need my glasses, but when I'm trying to read the little comments, I cannot tell what it says. It's so tiny. Christina says, yes, I saw one time a being spirit coughing when I was burning frankincense resin, and they were disliking it very much. Yeah, that's been my experience. But also, you guys, you might notice the longer that we build our relationship together here, you might notice that I am not dogmatic at all. So I'll tell you what works for me. And here's the thing. If somebody has found some other tool that works amazingly for them, if you have found something that works great for you, use that. Okay? So let's see what else we have. Lori says, I would love some light shed on functioning alcoholics. I personally know a few, and they seem to excel with work, promotions, praise. Personal relationships, not so much, because those close to them see through it. Is it off base to think that when they drink regularly, they unknowingly make a deal with spirits to keep them buzzed, and in return, they provide a smoke and mirrors effect to prevent the people at arm's distance from seeing them as who they really are? I would love to hear your take on this. Okay, this is a really important question. And in fact, I came really close to including a chapter in my new book, the Psychic Attack Sourcebook. I almost included a chapter about addiction. And instead, I chose to make some, I narrowed it down and just made some mention of it. I don't even remember what chapter it's in, but I do have a video. So for those of you who haven't seen this comment thread that I'm reading from, there's a video, and I don't know where the video went. Oh, here it is. So if you are looking later, if you're watching this later, and anybody who has the same question and wants to know more, I go into a lot of detail in another video from a couple years back. And that video, you can find it on YouTube. Type in addiction and entity issues, Maya Zahira, and you'll find it. But let me give you a bit of an answer here. So when it comes to alcoholism or any addiction, in my observation, there are definitely entities involved. And here's the basic setup of what's happening. So whether the person already had an active addiction or they weren't actively acting out that addiction, but maybe they had some tendency in their ancestry, so they had the DNA for the potential for that issue. In either scenario, there are spirits, human souls, deceased human souls, who are still hanging out on the earth plane. And there's a variety of reasons why some souls choose to not go over to the other side, to the afterlife. And that's a whole other video right there. Actually, I have videos on everything. If you just watch all 200 videos or whatever on my channel, you'll get this information. But there are certain human souls who have chosen to not go on to the afterlife, mainly because they still have such a strong addiction that they want to stick around the earth plane and connect with people who are still alive, who are actively acting out their addiction. And so in my observation, usually, but not always, usually the discarnate souls who, the discarnate souls will try to find a person or people who have the same kind of addiction. So for example, an earthbound spirit who was an alcoholic when they were alive is going to go and hang out at the bar. And so that spirit may not hook into one specific individual permanently. They might just hang out at the bar, and there are multiple spirits like that hanging out at the bar that are interested in acting out the addiction of drinking alcohol, of overindulging in alcohol. And so how this works is that the spirit or spirits will provide nudges, urges to the person to drink and to drink more. Just drink a little bit more. Just drink just a little bit more. Just order that next drink. Okay, until they have less control. The person has less control over their facilities, so they're more inebriated, and then eventually the person might get blackout drunk. And when they get blackout drunk, that's when one or more entities actually literally will possess the person, will enter into their body. Because when someone is blackout drunk, usually their soul So the alive person is blackout drunk. Their soul will partially or fully, but not permanently, will partially or fully leave their body. So it'll kind of move off to the side or move up because their soul is uncomfortable with that inebriated state. So the soul kind of drifts over, and these earthbound spirits get to come in and have a heyday, have fun, hanging out inside a body that is drunk. And have you ever talked to somebody who has said, like, gosh, I don't know what came over me, like, I don't even remember anything, and they said and did all sorts of things. And that's actually, oftentimes it is temporary possession that's happening. But there's another phenomenon that will happen, and it's not necessarily the bar scene that I'm describing. It's that there are one or more alcoholic or other addiction earthbound spirits who are permanently hooked into a live person via energy cords. It's like these tethers that these earthbound spirits are hooked onto, and they are just like hanging out with their friend Joe, who's an alcoholic. Like, I'm just making up a name, or like John or Jane Doe, and they really like that person, so they're gonna just stay with that person. Okay, so there's the two scenarios: the bar scene, where it's more random, like whoever's at the bar gets a hitchhiker or hitchhikers. In this case, in the second scenario, the person is permanently hijacked. Their soul is in their body when they're not too wasted, but there are these other souls that are hitchhiking along, and then the more drunk the person gets, then these spirits will take turns. And so you were saying something about the smoke and mirrors effect. Spirits can absolutely like create like a glamour, like a magical glamour effect, where it like changes the person's appearance or the way they're coming across, personality. And spirits don't want to be kicked out. They want to still be able to have fun with their hosted human. So they will do all sorts of smoke and mirrors. And here's the thing, a lot of times on an unconscious level, the person that has those spirit attachments kind of likes having those attachments. So we can't like force them to get rid of that unless they really want to, because a lot of times they will welcome that in. It's this very dysfunctional symbiosis. I was trying to think of the word. It's a very dysfunctional symbiosis that's going on. So basically what I described about the alcoholism and the abuse of alcohol could be like all of those concepts could be transferred to other types of addictive behaviors as well. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Yeah, and again, I have a whole video where I talk just about this, but I basically talked about the high points here. Okay. Let's see, scrolling through here. And everybody remember, there's that video, Addiction and Entity Issues, Maya Zahira. Okay. We have one more question. Oh, let me see what else. I knew we had another question here. We have one more pre-posted question, and we have another one I got to get the fingerprints off my glasses so I can read this question that Christina just posted. Hi, Christina. It's good to see you. So I'm going to answer Christina's question before it scrolls away, and then I'll get back to the other one. Okay. Why do some people attract more spirits, entities than others? Or is it that some people are sensing them more than the average person and we all have them around more or less? Yes. Yes. The second part of what you said, yeah, that is true. There are some people who are more sensitive, and actually there are spirits all around. Like everywhere you go, there are not just earthbound spirits, but we are in a world where there are other realities, also like other dimensions that are existing in the same place as ours. Like literally ghosts, spirits, positive beings, negative beings, like, and even when we think of elementals, the earth spirits, like they are in a very slightly different dimension than us. And some people are just a little more tuned in. Some people are really tuned in to be able to see certain kinds of spiritual beings. Like, for example, some people can very clearly see angels, but they don't see any of the other stuff. Or some people are able to very clearly see earthbound spirits, earthbound human souls. And that's the only, like, radio frequency that they are tuned into, but they don't see angels. Some people are tuned in and they see demons and dark spirits, and but they don't necessarily see the other stuff. And some people can see a little bit of all of it, and some people don't see any of it. Yeah. So those people who are more perceptive, who have more sensitivities, absolutely are going to be more affected by negative entities because they're perceiving it. Like if someone can't, if they don't have the sensitivity to pick up on or feel or sense entities, if there's an entity that's trying to mess with them, the adverse effect is going to be very minimal. Because it's like if someone has their eyes closed and there's somebody going, in front of their face, if someone has their eyes open, it's going to be really annoying. Right? Like, that's super annoying. I'm getting really stressed out. But if the person has their eyes closed, in other words, they are someone who's not very sensitive, like, that's barely going to bother them, if at all, right? But there's another aspect to this. Why do some people attract more spirits or entities than others? So it's not just that some people are more sensitive than others. Yes, that's a factor. But also, there are lots of people who are like entity magnets for different reasons. There are just different things going on. So the answer that I'm giving here is not an exhaustive list of all of this, but there are lots of people alive on the planet who are what would be considered targeted individuals, spiritually targeted individuals. There are a lot of people who are not targeted, but there is a portion of the population, I don't know, I don't know if I'll ever know the exact percentage, but I think it's a good 20%. That's what my intuition is telling me. There's a good 20% of the population that experiences pretty steady, ongoing spiritual targeting. So they are a targeted individual, which means that for a big chunk of their life, or even their entire life or lifetimes, they have either been attacked or they've been just like a magnet where ghosts, entities, etc. are just really drawn to them. There's a bunch of reasons why this can be the case, why someone might be targeted. It can be, I mean, there's just a huge list. You know, someone might have an issue in their ancestry, an entity issue that is followed down through the ancestral line. They might have some like curse issue that runs through their bloodline. So there are bloodline issues. There are certain bloodlines that are heavily targeted. And what else? And generally speaking, individuals who have a lot of light and who have come into this lifetime to accomplish a really important mission, a lot of times those people are targeted and blasted with various kinds of targeting, whether it's psychic attack, whether it's entity issues, whether it's other kinds of targeting. And I talk about that in my book, The Psychic Attack Sourcebook. I give more examples. And when I say that the people who have an important mission are sometimes targeted, the person's mission might not be a big public thing that people see. It might be a very quiet, humble mission, but it's very important in the scope of the world. It could be that like they hardly even leave their home, but there's something about their mission that's going to be, that has the potential to be very positively impactful for our reality, for humanity, for the world. And negative forces don't want that. So there's a lot of targeting with the intent of pulling somebody down, keeping them so attacked that they're constantly in hypervigilant mode and not able to focus on their positive mission, whatever that might be. So that's a little bit of why some people are, why some people have the tendency to have more negative spiritual experiences, spirits, entities, psychic attack, targeting, all that stuff. There's a lot. There's a lot there. So just know, everybody, that if you happen to be someone who has had a lot of negative spiritual activity, whatever it might be, that it's not your fault. There are these really weird beliefs in New Age that, like, if you are having issues with spirits, with psychic attack, that somehow it's your fault. And that just annoys the F out of me, because it's so delusional. Like, it really is. It's just outright wrong, and it's victim shamey, and it pisses me off. So I want to just emphasize that there are so many reasons why somebody can have an increased amount of negative activity, and it's usually not because they were bad in a past life, or they have bad karma, or their vibration is bad, or like all that stuff is just lame. It's very uninformed, and those ideas tend to come from people who have not experienced spiritual warfare. Because people who've been through the thick of it, who are beautiful souls, beautiful people, who've been through major spiritual warfare, know that they have a beautiful spirit and beautiful energy, and it wasn't because they have a low vibration. So again, that's my little circular answer for you, and you can take whatever resonates. So we have our I think this is going to be our final question, so I'm not going to take any. Let me double check, see if any other questions came through. Okay, I think I got all the questions. If I missed any questions, please accept my humblest, sincerest apology. But I'm going to just answer Lori's question, and that's going to be it for today because we're almost at an hour. And I want to thank you guys because I love getting on my soapbox. So I love sharing my opinions, and I'm going to share my opinion on this. Lori's question, I've loved all of your questions, you guys. And I love this question so much. It brings tears to my eyes because I feel so passionate about it. I literally have been thinking of doing a video, a separate Facebook Live just about this topic. So I might still do that at some point because this whole thing annoys me so much. So Lori says, geez, I have another question. These, quote, ascension symptoms. Is it really a cover? So actually, before I read the rest, I'm going to give context in case anyone doesn't know. But if you're a spiritual seeker, most people have seen stuff going through their Facebook feed and other social media talking about the 5D ascension, and we're all ascending into the fifth dimension, and there's all these symptoms that people are having but don't worry about those symptoms because it's just a sign that we're all ascending into this new earth and blah, 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 blah. And then they will list a list of symptoms. And the list, which actually I'm going to read off of this meme that Lori included, but the lists, the various memes going around and the articles by famous spiritual teachers list these ascension symptoms, and every single one of them, every single symptom that is listed, that, oh, don't worry because this is a good thing, it's because you're ascending, every single one of those symptoms, those so-called ascension symptoms, are also symptoms of an entity hooking into your energy field. Okay? So it's like all these people are being given this message, oh, don't worry if you're feeling any of these things, just relax and float through it. Well, entities feed off of you because it's not entities, it's that you're ascending. Like, it's total false light messaging. It's a like reversal of truth. So Lori says, these ascension symptoms, is it really a cover? So you think that you may be that what you may be experiencing is a normal and good thing, when it could actually be your body's warning system. And I love that you worded it that way, because that's absolutely what it is your body sometimes will know that you are under psychic attack of some kind, that something is in your field that shouldn't be. Your body will sometimes know before your conscious mind knows. Your energy field will know. And your energy field is connected with your physical body. So your conscious thinking mind might not have the full awareness that, oh, there's something or something's trying to get into my energy field. But your body knows, your central nervous system knows, your subconscious mind knows, which is why you might have some weird dreams, or you might have some weird, quote, fake ascension symptoms. And here is, and she also says, it's possible that it is numbing you for possible infiltration. And Lori, I'm just so happy. I'm just so proud of you. I'm just so proud of all of you that have developed such keen discernment, because discernment is seriously lacking in most spiritual communities. And I get so happy when I see people who are questioning things and who already have really amazing discernment. Like the fact that you're asking this question, like, are those ascension symptoms good? Or is it possible that this could be my body's warning system telling me that something is not right and that I'm getting numbed out for possible infiltration by entities? I actually talk about, I have my first book, Darkness Disguised as Light, on Amazon. I talk about something that I learned from one of my past mentors that she called spiritual anesthetic. And I talk about actually there's a section where I talk about the signs in my first book, Darkness Disguised as Light. I talk about some of the signs, some of the indications that an entity or negative energy is trying to plug into you. And so you can learn all about that in that section of that book. The meme, I think I have allergies. My nose is going crazy tonight. The meme that Lori included about the ascension symptoms, it says, solar storm hitting now, high-speed plasma light. Now, it's true, we do have space weather and solar flares, and we have cosmic occurrences that do affect our being. That's true. That's true. But I basically ignore all of the memes that go around Facebook about like whatever's happening with the space weather, like stuff like what I'm going to read. It says, high-speed plasma light breaks apart old programming and memories from your DNA, cells, and body. Ascension symptoms you may be feeling ascension symptoms you may be feeling as the old purges. Waves of emotions, sadness, anger, regret, nostalgia about the past, depression, anxiety, headache, pressure, migraine, dizziness. Oh, all of these physical symptoms, these are all direct symptoms of an entity attaching into you. Headache, pressure, migraine, dizziness, vertigo, earache, ears ringing, blurry eyes, spine bulges and pain, neck, back, I can't read all of it, tension, sleep issues, and much more. And I can't read what else it says. Yeah, those are things that are often listed in articles and memes about the ascension process. So don't worry, you could just let all these things happen to you and it's all good. There's so much false information coming through people who are channeling, who are bringing forth spiritual channeled messages, and this is a really common theme, and it's to get people to drop their discernment and just allow whatever to happen in their energy field and to ignore their body's natural warning symptoms. So I love that you asked that question. I got so excited when I saw it. I was like, yes. And I get so annoyed when I see like all these spiritual teachers posting about this. And I'm sure that they believe what they're sharing. I'm sure that they believe in what they're saying and that they are thinking that they're trying to help humanity, but they're actually misguiding a lot of people and putting a lot of people in danger. So if you do want to know more about how different things can hook in, that's one of the many sections in my first book, Darkness Disguised as Light. This is actually the story of how I got started, like all the crazy stuff that I went, some of the crazy stuff. I've been through a lot. I can't write books fast enough to keep up with everything that I've gone through. But this is the psychic attack that I went through in 2016 after I had been working as a feel-good spiritual teacher for over 25 years. I went through a crazy, life-threatening psychic attack in 2016. And I tell that story in this book, Darkness Disguised as Light. So it is a personal story, but each chapter has a lesson at the end. So there's a lot of psychic attack information in this book, and almost everything almost all of the psychic attack information in this book is different than what's in this book. So I had one person who was going to get this book, and they said, well, is it just a repeat of what's in this book? I'm like, nope, not at all. Like, it's totally different. The only thing that's the same is I re-explain what psychic attack is in both books. Like, I have to go explain what that is. But aside from that, it's completely different information. So, this was fun, you guys. Thank you for being here. And I'm trying to read this comment. Oh, yeah. Laura says, so, a Facebook Live on Reiki. I was trying to figure out what you were saying. Sometimes my brain it doesn't click sometimes. So, yes, I do plan to do a Facebook Live about the dark side of Reiki. Even though I love Reiki, there are some things that we need to be aware of. I might do a separate Facebook Live where I talk about ascension symptoms. I probably will at some point. Now let's see what we have. Christina. What is circulating as accepted within New Age it never gets questioned. It's already just accepted and gets passed on over and over. You're absolutely right. Absolutely. And in fact, one of my pet peeves, I'm going to shake my fist to the sky. One of my pet peeves is that people actually believe entities more than they believe themselves. So they will ignore whatever their inner guidance is, whatever their inner knowing might be, and some entity will connect with them, or they'll read a book or watch a video that's channeled content from some entity that hasn't been fully vetted. Everybody just believes what that entity says, or a collective of entities. If it's a collective of entities, they just totally believe everything that the channeling person says. Like, oh, well, the collective of entities says that this is true, therefore it is. And they believe it more because it's coming from an entity or entities. And from my perspective, I believe it less. I go, okay, so if an entity is saying it, I am going to question it. Like, I wouldn't say I absolutely won't believe whatever is being said, but I will question it 100 times more. And I think we all need to do that, because there's a big problem with false light entities going on right now. And that's another rant, which I will not get into today, but I've done other videos where recently where I've talked about false light, and I talk about it in both books. So if you want to know what that is, but basically tons of false messages being brought through spiritually on purpose. So we need to question everything, question messages, question beliefs that are taken for granted, like everybody just believes it, wouldn't even think to question, is that really true? And so you all are here because you are open-minded questioners, and I love that. I love being with like-minded people. Okay, I think we need to be done for today. I don't know what I'm going to do for next week's. Oh, yeah. I think next week's Facebook Live, I'm going to talk about false light entities, how false light entities cause people to have delusions, like psychosis, okay? Like delusions. So that ought to be an interesting one. So if you want to know what that's about, join me next week. Every week we have a Facebook Live in our free group, Tuesday, 5:30 Pacific, adjust to your time zone. And afterwards, I always upload it to the free YouTube channel, Psychic Protection Sanctuary YouTube channel. So I will see you all in the Facebook group, and have a great night. Thanks for joining, and I will see you all next week. Lots of love.